Let's take a look at the chain of thought prompting technique. On this screen, you actually see an example of zero-shot prompting. It says, explain how to conduct market research for a new product. Now, if you went through the course material, you already know that if you just type this out and then submit it to ChatGPT, 10 out of 10, it's going to give you different output every time you submit this input, because you're just asking it to be open-ended with it. It's like hiring some random virtual assistant online and ask them to explain market research for a new product. And if you ask it to 10 different person, you're going to get 10 different answer. Or even if you just Google the same question, you're going to get hundreds and thousands of articles written about it. And each article is going to give you like a slightly different answer, right? But typically in each business, how you do market research has more proprietary process that the company might follow. For example, maybe I work for a company where whenever we want to do market research, we follow specific steps. Maybe it's steps that doesn't have all the things that maybe it's possible, right? There may be 100 different things that I can ask to do as far as the research. But when I say market research, this is what I mean. So on top of this zero-shot prompting, I'm going to copy and paste and introduce a chain of thought I want the AI to go through. So instead of just saying, explain how to conduct market research for a new product, I'm also giving step-by-step chain of thought process. Start by identifying target audience, then describe how to gather data, and finally explain how to analyze the results. So specifically, I'm asking you to go through the sequence of the process. Notice I'm not saying do identify target audience and gather data and analyze the results at the same time, even though that prompt might still give enough hint to think through the problems. But I'm asking it to break this big open-ended problem into smaller set of digestible steps that I can go through. And the idea is that AI will be able to think better and reason better in coming up with the answers. So now let's look at the output it's going through. So conducting market research for a new product involves 3 primary stages: identifying target audience, gathering data, and analyzing the results. Now, of course, this is something I ask it to do. Just like when I train someone junior, I might ask the person to go through these steps and help break down the problems, as opposed to just like, hey, just go Google and then figure out based on whatever random article you decide to choose to follow. So it did figure out, okay, step 1, identify target audience, define by a persona, segment your market, understand needs and problems. Sounds great. Now you should then think about the next step of how to gather data based on these output, right? So hopefully the gather data part talks about how to identify all these things. So it says primary research, so tools like Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, Typeform. Also talks about interviews, focus group, observations, and all these techniques can be applied back into how you can define persona and how to define and segment your market and understand needs and problems based on all these researches that you conduct. And then after all that's done, you can analyze the results. It's coming up with the quantitative, qualitative, drawing insights, very classic. The point is that I was able to give a step-by-step to focus the answer into 3 things that I care, because that's how my process works that I want it to follow, versus if you just did the zero-shot prompting of explain how to conduct market research for a new product, it might come up with a 10-step process instead of these 3 processes that I want it to focus on. So actually, let's start a new chat, and then I'm going to actually run zero-shot and see how it compares. Okay, so define your objectives. And in my example, I think I said to define the audience first, right? So it goes through objective, identifying target audience, choose your research methods. Now, notice that the results or the suggestions are very similar, but it's going to give me all these additional, like, okay, I did not ask it to do product market fit validation, but it's telling me all that stuff. Make data-driven decisions, test your hypothesis, iterate based on feedback. All these are great steps. Like, none of these are wrong answers, but maybe not something I want AI to focus on because I want specific things in my mind, right? Again, this is about how I control the output that I'm looking for through prompt engineering. It's not just about just give me whatever and then I'll take whatever you have. I am controlling with an intent on what I'm looking for. So hopefully this clarifies the difference between the other techniques such as zero-shot prompting versus the chain of thought prompting, where I'm asking it to go through exact steps of chain of thought that it goes through. It is often applied to some more complex, I'd say, like mathematical, scientific problems where unless you go through steps, you might actually make some factually wrong mistakes along the way, because without breaking down the big problems, maybe it's too much for AI to take on to arrive into factual answer. But as you can see, it is also applicable into the business context as well, where maybe you're not asking it to do some factual background check to ensure the conclusion is factually accurate. Maybe the conclusion is still open-ended, like in my example, but it's still a useful technique that can be applied to day-to-day prompt engineering. So give it a try some of the examples. I try to list a lot of exercise prompt so you can go through and see and figure out how the chain of thought process is affecting the output that you're getting.